The question is, what are the characteristics which distinguish Indo-European languages from other language families? In other words, why do we consider one language Indo-European and another one non-Indo-European? In fact, there are two outstanding characteristics which indicate the Europeanness of a language. The first one is its structure, and the second one is its vocabulary. As for structure, we will discover that all Indo-European languages have generally lent themselves in structure to the description of forms invented by the ancient Greeks, and these forms are called parts of speech. In other words, if we can classify the words of a language according to what we know as parts of speech, I mean nouns, adjectives, adverbs, etc., so this language is Indo-European. As for vocabulary, the other feature, okay, we'll find that Indo-European languages have in common a shared nucleus fundamental roots. A shared nucleus fundamental roots. This means that the roots from which these words were derived in all Indo-European languages, and this is very clear in the words referring to the family relationship. So if you follow, for example, the word father or mother in some Indo-European languages, you'll find that they sound similarly in most Indo-European languages, in English, in French, in German, and so on. As I told you, we are going to focus on the Germanic languages. Why? Because we are concerned with the history of language, or the history of English language. Okay? And in order to study the history of English language, we have to study the Germanic languages, because English is Germanic. So the branch of Indo-European that English belongs to is called Germanic. And this branch includes German, Dutch, Frisian, Danish, Swedish, and Norwegian. There are two characteristics which distinguish all the German languages. What are these two characteristics? The first one is that there was a tendency to fix stress of a word on its root syllable or as near the beginning as possible. So the first characteristic is that these languages tend to fix the stress of the word on the root or near the beginning to this root as possible. To compare between this and other Indo-European languages, we discover that the other languages have free stress. Other Indo-European languages have free stress. So in Germanic languages, the stress is fixed. In other Indo-European languages, the stress is free. And the place of the stress, it changes according to the context and the meaning. This is not the case with Indo-European languages. We do not change, for example, in English, the place of the stress in order to change the meaning of words. Okay, this is a tendency in other non-Germanic languages, but in Germanic languages the stress is fixed. We do not change the place of the stress in order to change the meaning or with the change of the context. The second feature which distinguishes the Germanic family of languages was the tendency to build a two-tense system of the verb. So the Germanic verb has a two-tense system, present and past. The other tenses, of course, are recognized in these languages by the use of auxiliary verbs. But the main verb has only two tenses, the present and the past. And this is the case in all Germanic languages. Now we are going to talk about the branches of Germanic languages or Proto-Germanic. Actually, we have three branches. We have the West Germanic, and we have the North Germanic, and we have the East Germanic. As for the North Germanic, we have two branches of the North Germanic. We have the West Scandinavian and the East Scandinavian. In the West Scandinavian, we have Icelandic, we have Norwegian, we have Faroese. And in the East Scandinavian, we have Swedish, we have Danish, and we have Gutnish. As for the East Germanic, we have only one language in the East Germanic, and this language is Gothic. And Gothic is the only East Germanic language for which we have any record. When we talk about the West Germanic, we're going to have more details because English is a West Germanic language. As you see here, in the West Germanic, we have Old High German, from which we have High German, and we have Old Saxon, from which we have Low German, and we have Old Low Franconian, from which we have Dutch. Now we are going to focus on this branch, okay? And this is the branch of Anglo-Frisian, because the Anglo-Frisian is divided into two sections. The first one is Old English, from which we now have Modern English, okay? And the other one is Old Frisian, from which we have Frisian. So again, we are going to focus on this one, okay? So from the Anglo-Frisian here, we have Old English and Old Frisian. We are concerned with this part, with Old English, okay? And from Old English, okay, we have now the language which we speak and known as Modern English. Old English. I want to tell you something about the history of English, okay? The history of English is divided into three main periods, and these periods are called Old English and Middle English, and the third one is Modern English. And each one has its own characteristics which distinguish it from the other period. The Old English period extends from the earliest written documents about the close of the 7th century to about 1100 AD. So the Old English period ended at 1100 AD. When we talk about Middle English started from 1100 and it ends at about 1450. As for Modern English, it starts from about 1500 to the present day. So these are the three major areas in the